Hello, my name is Greg Huck. We're up here today on the Mogollon Rim, which is we're about 28 miles north of Payson, Arizona, right off Highway 87. Up here today to tell you about one of my treasure stories, which I also have in my book. It's called The Lost Confederate Treasure. What we're first going to do, we're going to tell you the story, then we're going to take you back along the Rim Road, which is also Forest Road 300, and show you a few of the scenes up here. The story was actually told to me by an old guy named John that I met years ago down in Strawberry, Arizona. He was told the story by a friend of his who was a treasure writer for one of the treasure magazines. Well, this magazine writer happened to be friends with an old Mexican guy down in Flagstaff. And what happened was the old Mexican fella, about 1970, came very sick and was in the hospital, so this guy went and saw him. And the Mexican fellow knew that he was interested in treasure stories. He said, "I'm going to tell you one, but you can't publish it, and I'm not going to tell you where it's at, but it's a true story." And he says, in 1935, me and my partner went back to go hunting right off the Rim Road, which was not that old at the time. It had just been put in 1928 or 29. And so we went back to a spring to camp out. We was going to go deer hunting the next morning. Well, the next morning we got up and we went deer hunting. We weren't doing very well till about noon. We finally saw a deer. My partner shot the deer and we went over to where we thought it fell, and all we found was some blood tracks. So we started tracking the deer because we didn't want to leave a wounded deer left up there in the woods. And we tracked and tracked, and it was starting to get dark, you know, a couple hours till the sun was going to be down. So we decided we better turn and head back to camp. And before long, it was so dark, and we thought we would just camp out where we're at, and we'll make it back to camp in the morning. We'd camp out right there, have a fire underneath the overhanging rock, and stay the night. Well, my partner went over and he started collecting some dead wood branches along this rock outcropping, which is vertical. And he started picking up stuff, and he noticed what looked like a top of a old wooden keg or something. So he moved the branches back, he scooped the dirt off the top of it and opened it up, and it was full of gold coins. And he called me over and he was, "Wow, look at this." And he says, we started scooping back, and there were 16 of those kegs buried with very little dirt on them alongside this rock face. They took a few of these coins, put it in their pockets, and they headed back to camp the next morning. And they said, well, they just go back to Flagstaff where they lived. And they went back and they took one of the $20 gold pieces, and they went down to a friend of theirs who owned a liquor store, and they traded him that $20 gold piece for a bottle of whiskey. And the next morning, the one fella got up and he went over to the other fella's house to see how he was doing. And his wife said, well, he's still asleep in the back bedroom. He said, go back and wake him up. So he went back there, and the old guy was laying there, but he was dead. And this really upset this Mexican fella, and he decided that the gold coins were actually what he called Diablo's gold. It was like cursed. It was devil's gold. So he took the gold coins out and left, and he took them out what they call the big hole just outside of Flagstaff, and he threw them all in there just to get rid of them. And he never told anybody the story until 35 years later when he was telling this story to this magazine writer. So that's where the start of the story came, because the magazine writer happened to know old John, who I knew, and told him the story. So old John, he figured, all right, he had a pretty good idea where he thought the spring was at that they camped at. This is Highway 87 coming up from Payson. This turnoff is about 28 miles north of Payson, and it'll say Rim Road, Forest Road 300. So the turnoff is right here, and then we make this turn here and follow this. As you can see, it just juggles around. I end up following it all the way down here. You can see it's quite a little trip. It's a gravel road. It's a pretty good gravel road. And we come all the way down around to Kell Spring. This is right here. We just pulled in here at Kell Springs campground. They have camping here now for a fee. But as you can see, it's very green around here. It's possibly where those Mexican hunters camped out when they went deer hunting. So we just pulled in here to let you have a quick look at everything, because it's really beautiful back in here. maybe the old man was wrong. Maybe the spring was wrong, maybe it was right, maybe the hunters actually went another canyon or two over when they were chasing this deer. So I started focusing on the next canyon over, which is Miller Canyon. So that's where I went searching. And if you continue the road down, you come to another road down here that you can turn back north on, Battleground Ridge. So I went, this is kind of a roundabout way, but actually I went back around and went back up in and started searching off Miller Canyon, up here in different places, okay? He plugged some more into the story, and I don't know where he got the rest of this information, but he said that right at the end of the Civil War, when these Confederate soldiers were supposed to pledge their allegiance to the Union, some of them escaped. These two guys escaped, and they were on a gold-bearing detail prior to the end of the war, bearing the Confederate treasury. Well, they got a wagon and a team of like 6 really good horses, and they went and they dug up 16 kegs of these coins, and they put them in their wagon and they headed west. And they was going out to California to meet up with some other Confederate sympathizers. Well, they stopped at a stage station or stopped somewhere before they hit Chavis Pass, which is just north of here. And anyway, they joined this wagon train. It was left this stage station. It was going up to towards Chavis Pass, and they got attacked by the Apaches. Well, the wagon train, there was only like 7 or 8 wagons in it. They started circling up, and the guys on the Confederate guys, they decided they didn't want any part of that. They broke away on their own. They figured they could take off and get away. Well, they took off, and the Indians didn't chase them because they knew they could always catch a single wagon later on. They could track it, so they focused on taking out the main train. So they did, and supposedly they killed everybody. And a few days later, the cavalry come riding up there and discovered it and buried everybody, and saw these other wagon set of tracks going off. So they tracked it for a while till the rain started and washed the tracks away. So they never did find it, or where that other wagon went. And they went back to the station, and the guy that ran the station saying that that last wagon was very well loaded. He said it had a really good team of horses, and these two guys kind of kept to themselves, and they were, they had a southern accent, and they weren't really part of the train. So they didn't find this wagon at where the massacre site was, so they figured that was the wagon that disappeared. So anyway, that's where John kind of ties his story, and he thinks that this wagon left Chavis Pass somewhere up there and headed south down Long Canyon into Cal Canyon. That's where he thought it was, that they run into the canyons and ended up going into Cal Canyon off to a little ravine, and they buried the treasure somewhere there because he'd heard that years later that wagon parts had been found in some ravine up here on the rim, and he didn't know where, but he most likely thought it was Cal Canyon. So over time, I come up here half a dozen times, and I just love camping out of here. I even brought my father and my son up here with me, and we hiked all over the place. There's lakes up here, and it's just beautiful camped out. And in summertime, it's down about high 50s, 60s at night, 80s in the daytime, where it's 110 or 15 in Phoenix. It's a perfect place to be. But anyway, I searched Cal Canyon from top to bottom half a dozen times. There was nothing in that canyon that matched the story. And in my book, I tell a lot more about it, and where I thought the best possibility was for these Confederate guys to hide this treasure. And I don't think they ever came up the canyon. I think they went up on top, which would have been much easier going for a wagon than being down in the creek bed with rocks and everything. So I think they come to a point up here they had to get rid of it. They come to a point where it ended up on one of these ridges, and they had to get rid of it. And they buried it, got the horses, and rode out of there. That's the story. So if you're up here, keep your eyes open. You never know. You might run into something that has an overhanging rock with maybe some old charcoal under it and a rock ridge there that, might be some gold buried next to it. So, when you're up here, have a great time, have a look around, and good luck.